Welcome back to episode 4 of Story of My Life podcast. First of all, thank you guys for being patient with me. I was writing this one out and I was like, I was having a hard time. I'm not going to lie. I was struggling a little bit. And it's not because I was like going back and feeling super emotional and like recounting all of the hardships and this story particularly, but it was just one of those things that I wanted to get right because this is a monumental moment in my life that I want to portray correctly, especially because I'm sharing it with you guys. I feel like there are a lot of life lessons for myself and hopefully some that I can, pay it forward. So, anyways, thank you guys for being patient with me. Welcome back. We are here, and today I am solo. I wanted to bring on my brother and sister because it was just an opportunity for me to have a really good conversation with them and kind of get their insight and understanding and how they're perceiving the world and relationships. There's so much more that I could dive into with them, and I know they'll be back eventually. But I hope you guys enjoyed those episodes, and it was really uplifting for me to see and hear how emotionally intelligent they are and how just much of an impact they have on my life and how much of an impact I've been able to have on theirs. I mean, being an influence to them is something that I take very seriously, a good influence to them. And I only want to continue to grow and learn through life so that I can, pave the way that a healthy path for them too. So I hope you guys enjoyed those episodes. This one particularly, we're gonna kind of get back to my story a little bit here. I told you guys at the beginning, like this podcast is going to be all about relationships, and eventually we're going to get into more friends, family, all of the above, and also just talk about some like life stories and life experiences. Like I've had some crazy encounters where I've met people that will experiences that will live with me forever, and also like experiences that will live with me that I don't really want to remember, like old roommate stories or um, just some crazy things that have happened when I was younger, and also some really good ones that I have just remembered for my whole life up until this point. So it's not going to just be about guys. It's not going to just be about dating. But obviously, like I said at the very beginning, those are some crucial elements to our relationships. And we are always looking for love. Every one of us is always looking for love. And um, whether you aren't married or you're looking to be married, you're dating intentionally or you're not dating intentionally, at the end of the day, like we're all looking for the same thing. We all want relationship. We all want love. So we're kind of starting there. In order for you to get to know me more, though, that this is how I need to start my story. This by no means defines me in any way, but it is definitive to my actions and how I want to carry myself throughout the rest of my life. This story particularly, it's when things took a big shift for me. I'm 29 years old, and I this isn't the first time I've started over, but this time it was different. It hit different. And I feel like mentally I'm more aware of how much an impact it has had on my life. So, anyways, we can jump into it. By now, you guys know I have an interesting backstory as to why I'm 29 and single in a new city and finally like stepping into my individuality more. Um, and that's kind of been why this podcast has started. I mean, I've had this on my mind and on my heart for a very, very long time. But what I mean by like my individuality is like, I don't know, I've just been attached to other people for so long. And this time around where I've detached myself, it's really put myself into a different form of my identity, I guess. When you are in a toxic relationship, and I know that some of you guys can relate to this, you tend to lose your identity in a way. And no, you should never lose your identity when you're with somebody, but unfortunately, sometimes you do. And this doesn't just happen with romantic relationships. This also happens with friends, family, sometimes even your own kids. And I feel like that's why sometimes people are scared to have their own kids is because they're scared to lose their identity. I mean, I know for sure that if I have a daughter, it's over for me. Like she's going to take my heart and soul. And that's because I'm going to want to protect her with every fiber of my being, knowing how I grew up and just being a woman and how women should be treated. And I'm going to be the same exact way for my boys too. Best believe I'm going to raise them to be incredible men. But yeah, when you are in any kind of relationship, you tend to lose somewhat of your identity, and especially romantic relationships. And in this past one, unfortunately, I lost a lot of that. When I look back at it, I feel like a lot of it was a blur to me. And unfortunately, while I was in that moment in time, the blur was okay because, like I said, when you're in romantic relationships, you do lose your identity. And I feel like that's kind of the point sometimes, like you get with someone with the intention of being partners and like basically surrendering your soul for this person. And I just want to be clear. I think you should do this, but there is a healthy way to go about it. And what I mean by healthy is that whatever you're giving, if it's not being provided back to you, then that's toxic. Like that's being taken advantage of. That's not getting what you deserve. Um, and I think that's where the lack of identity happened with me. Um, I was giving a lot. And for a while there, I was justifying it by like, this is the person that I love and this is the person that I want to marry. But listen, I'm 8, 9 months out of this relationship now. And to be honest with you, like, I can't even remember who that person was anymore. And that's why it's so crazy to think about like the identity that I held during that time. It's like unreal to me because the person that I was then is not the person that I am now. And it's not because I just decided one day to make this switch up and change and I'm a completely different person. It's because I decided to do the work and learn from my lessons. And while I was moving forward, I said, Katie, what do you need to do to not repeat these same vicious cycles, to not continue to go in this roundabout circle? Because, like I said, this isn't the first time that I've started over, unfortunately. But this is the last time that I'm going to allow that kind of lack of self awareness be my definition of who I am. Um, so, anyways, that's why we're here today, because I'm going to tell you the most important story that made me really open my eyes to what's next for me. I feel like when you start over, sometimes you have this tendency to fall back. And this time around, I was like, it's not happening. You're not going to do that. It's about forward thinking only. You got to lock in. What do you want different for your life now? What do you want to change? Because you can't sit there and say, oh, this is happening to me again. Poor me, poor me, poor me. But when you're the one creating those actions consistently in your life, it's probably going to happen to you again. So I decided to change my mindset this time. And this is the first time I've ever lost something, but gained so much more. And it's really hard to say that because it sounds like I was just miserable the last 4 or 5 years of my life with this person. And I wasn't. I mean, we had a great time together, obviously. I was going to live with it. I mean, I was living with him. I was going to marry him. And the hard part about it, when I look back at that and then when I talk about it now, it's like I don't want to say that I regret everything because I definitely don't. Like, I know that at the end of the day is a learning lesson for me. And the time that I shared with him was extremely important. But now that I see who I am now and like my mental strength now, I realize that that was just an experience that I needed to go through. So, like I mentioned at the beginning, it's not going to be, a shit talking session at all. But I will say that getting away from him was the best thing I could do for myself. And not necessarily in terms of him being the worst guy ever, because I feel like everybody has defaults and everyone has issues. But I just don't think that we were a match, because when you're with somebody, they shouldn't intentionally hurt you. And there were also moments where I was intentional about hurting him too. Um, so at the end of the day, it just, it didn't work out. But there's a lot more to unpack with this story. And I'm kind of working backwards here, because I feel like this experience bleeds into other stories, and also the way that I can respond to yours, which, by the way, I'm very excited to talk to you guys more. So if anyone is listening and they want to be on the podcast and have a story to tell, and it doesn't have to just be about guys, please reach out to me, because I would absolutely love to sit and yap with you. Um, I promise I will get into the story of my last 4 years. I want to tell you guys about some of my experiences, because I do think, like I said, it's very important to address these things. I have had abusive tendencies from my side, and they've also been inflicted on me. So part of the reason why I started this is because I want to pay it forward. I want people to hear this and feel relatable and learn. And let me be the first to say, I'm very sorry if you've ever experienced toxicity in your relationship. I'm very sorry if you've experienced abuse. I'm very sorry if you've experienced manipulation. I'm very sorry if you've experienced infidelity or anything negative of that nature. I don't think love should ever be unhealthy. There are going to be bumps in the road, but that's not what love is all about. Love is about hardships that you guys can get through together. Because at the end of the day, if you wake up in the morning and you resent that person, let's be real, that is not the right person for you to be with. Um, but let me not get off track here, because I don't want to go off on crazy tangents. The story makes me very, very passionate, I should say. But I'm labeling this the big move, because this was the biggest move of my life, and not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, everything and every part of me that I am, or who I am right now, I think is due to the fact that I made this decision. Actually, I know for a fact that it's because I made this decision, and I'm very proud of myself. But damn it, it was hard. It was really hard. Um, it happened in January officially. The plans were in motion prior, though, because in August of 2024, something really big happened that made me leave for about 2 weeks. And in those 2 weeks, I debated what I wanted to do. There was a lot of self reflection going on. Instead of giving up, I decided to, and let me backtrack. I shouldn't say that instead of giving up, because I don't think giving up is the right way to define that. I think that um, when you're put in a situation that makes you try to think like, should I be with this person or not? It's not necessarily about giving up. It's about, you're with this person because you want to fight through it. You're with this person because you want to compromise. But when you get to the point of where you have to truly, truly debate if this person is right for you, I think at the end of the day, you know that it's done. I think that at the end of the day, you know that you've been through enough hardships, enough turmoil, enough toxicity and drama and hurt and pain and all the things that you know that it's done. But you want to fight through it. You don't want to regret anything. So that's kind of what I did. I thought, we're engaged. So why don't I try to be a wife right now? Why don't I try to look at this from what would I do if we were actually married? You can't just divorce somebody on a whim because you got into a fight. I mean, this incident that happened in August of last year was not just any typical fight or argument. I mean, I left, and knowing me personally, it takes a lot for me to walk away from something. I think that comes from my fear of abandonment, honestly, because when I leave and stand up for myself, I feel like I'm not going to be accepted or be able to like walk back through the door and that's really bad on my part because then that again, lack of identity, lack of self-worth, lack of knowing that you deserve better. Um, and I was just saying, okay, okay, it's okay. And I did it again. I said, it's okay. So while I was gone for those 2 weeks, I was like, what can I do when I get back to try to make this better? And mind you, when something happens in your relationship, it is not all on you. You are a partnership and it's the both of you. So again, when you're contemplating if this is the right thing for you and you realize that you're the only one putting forth the effort, I'm telling you right now, that's not the right person for you. A partnership is exactly what that definition is. Two people working on things together. So I made the plans to figure out how to fix these things. I said, let's go to therapy. I set everything up. I rolled out the red carpet for him in every single way. Let's go to therapy. Found a therapist, got it all situated with insurance. I was already involved in church trying to find ways to heal myself as an individual. And I told him that it would mean a lot to me, if he joined me. And I did appreciate that he was there. He did show up for a little while and he showed up in therapy too. But you know what? Like, I sat back and I realized that like these were all my doing, and I had an individual therapy session that kind of opened my eyes a little bit. And my therapist was like, Katie, he is a narcissist and you can't heal a narcissist. Somebody like that needs to work on themselves individually. He's got to come here and show up for himself. And I was like, you know what? You're right. I can't fix you. You got to do it for you. And it really got me thinking, like, you did this to make me leave. I came up with the solution. I rolled out the red carpet for you to try to figure it out. I set everything up. And he just, actions speak louder than words, is all I can really summarize that with. So within those couple of months, I started to notice that like Katie's doing this, Katie's doing this, Katie's doing that. He's not doing anything. We were still arguing, we were still fighting. I mean, there were still some good days, but it was forced. And I was waking up every day just incrementally like withering away. It was really hard. And a couple months go by like that. And it's like Christmas time. And I don't even know what happened. I just woke up one morning and it was like, I'm done. I was just absolutely done. And ladies, I think that you guys know what I'm talking about when I say this. When a woman is done, like women are so emotionally giving and we are just so generous in our nature. I mean, we're mothers and that's what we're meant to do. And never mother your partner, by the way, because that's never going to turn out right. But we're giving by nature. So when you decide that you're done, you're done. And there's just no coming back from that. And on an individual level, like when I'm done, I'm completely done. Because it takes a lot from me. My fear of abandonment has stopped me from ever standing up for myself. And so I realized at this point, like, I can't do this anymore. I was having more peace waiting for the nighttime, going to sleep, or waking up the next day and going for a walk for like 2 hours because I was just like, I didn't want to be in that environment. And it was just not the person that I fell in love with. And too much had happened is what it really boils down to. I sat on it for about a week. And in that week, I contemplated, like, is this the right thing to do? And mind you, like, I had already like been contemplating this for months now. So I think in my mind, like, it was just kind of like a natural process. But that let them theory, which I kind of hate that theory when it comes to like gifts and flowers and things like that. But actions, I do agree that the let them theory can apply. I sit back. I don't roll out the red carpet anymore. I actually act on my feelings, meaning I was sad, so I looked sad. I was unhappy, so I looked unhappy. And when you're in a situation like that and your partner decides to add more fuel to the fire than try to, you know, put it out, that is an issue. So I let him validate my feelings and it confirmed my decision. Just like how he was acting, how he was reacting. And I didn't react back. I just would sit there and be like, okay, okay, okay. Because what else can you do at that point? Like the deed was done. So I started making plans in my head, talking to family and trying to map everything out. I mean, leaving somebody that you've been with for that long, he laid all this groundwork and foundation for your life. I was engaged. I had a ring on my finger. I didn't know how I was going to tell him. I didn't know how I was going to talk about any of this with him. And I felt like this is really hard for me to say because I was kind of scared. How was I going to tell him that I didn't want to be with him anymore? Not because I was scared for like multiple reasons. I didn't want to hurt him. And why was I protecting him still? I'm not sure. But I was scared because I didn't know how he was going to react. And I, the fact that I had to contemplate that, um, that's not good. It's really not good. And I'm going to hold back my tears right now because I try really hard not to get emotional about this. I've put so much energy into this already, but I'm not going to hide from my feelings. When I talk about it, though, it just reminds me of how lost and sad I was and how unacceptable that behavior is. um, Anyways, it just confirmed my decision, how he was acting. Um, Part of me thought, though, if he responded correctly, maybe I would stay. But I knew inside it was time to go. And I think that part goes with like manipulation because he could say the right things, the perfect things. And that piece of your heart that still loves this person could be the absolute reason why you're like, okay, you're right. We can make this work. But I knew that I had to keep my foot firm. I had to stand on business and I had to GTFO. The way that I ended up telling him didn't go the way that I expected. I guess maybe I should say that it did, but I didn't want it to go this way. It actually wasn't going to happen that night. But there's really no good way to say goodbye to your fiance. I was home all day and he was out. Mind you, like we had locations and everything. So I knew where he was this entire day. I'm not going to say where he was appropriate. And it just attached itself to some previous issues that we had. So I already knew he was out drinking. Probably wasn't gonna come home in the best mood. Like I said, for the last like week and a half, 2 weeks, I was not in a good place, and it was very clear that I wasn't. And the way that he reacted to that was just poor on all behalfs. But he came home upset. We exchanged some not so nice words. I'll be honest with you. This time, I just kept my mouth shut and let him do all the talking. Um, and that was really hard to process because normally I would try to fight back and defend myself a little bit, and this time I was just like, okay. And I think that's how you know again that things are done. Um, so he said, then maybe we shouldn't be together. You know, that like toxic stuff when you're fighting and you're like, you know what, then maybe we shouldn't be together anymore. That word vomit when you're angry. I don't want to be with you anymore. Or if you're not happy, then you can get out. Blah, 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 blah. And this time I just said, okay, you're right. I don't want to be with you anymore. And I mean, the look on his face just, it was like fire, but like confused. It wasn't, it wasn't going well. And mind you, this is me saying this, standing in my dream house, talking to my fiance, the person that I said, yes, I was going to marry, and knowing what was going to come after this. It wasn't going to be easy, but I'm looking at him in the face and I'm saying, you know what? I am done. And you're right. We shouldn't be together. Whether or not it was word vomit or not, we shouldn't have been together. And that was it. That was the breaking point. Even though the conversation wasn't pleasant, I already felt this weight lifted off of me. And that at that point I could start actually planning things out and moving forward. I knew what was to come was going to be hard, but in my mind, I knew it was right. So the only thing to do was to just do it. I left for a few days to gather my thoughts and go see a family friend. And in those couple of days, I it was just action, action, one thing after another. I got an apartment. I mapped out my whole plan. I wasn't looking back. In a weird way, it was kind of the easiest part. It's just because I knew I was so solid in my mind that I was ready to go, that like I was like kind of excited to like start anew and just be fresh and just be like, okay, you know what, Katie, like this is going to be the last time that you ever have to deal with this absolutely unacceptable behavior. When I came back a couple days later, we did speak and he tried to salvage it, but I told him it had to be done. And I told him it had to be done for me. It wasn't an attack on him. And this is how I know my character was just ready to grow. Because I just looked at him in the face and I was like, you know what? For my mental health, I have to get out of this environment. As hard as it was for him to understand that, I'm grateful that he did. He was very pleasant in that conversation, sad, but he stopped fighting me finally and let me move forward. And I really appreciated that. Part of me thinks it's because he knew that I was set in stone and my decision wasn't going to be changed. And more than anything, I think he realized that he'd put me through enough. I think when you look at somebody in the face and you don't say a lot of words, sometimes that's more than enough. Because when you sit and you argue and you word vomit and you spew out all this stuff, all these insults and all these things that you want to fight about, there's part of you that still has fight left in you. But when you're silent and you can just look at somebody in the face and be like, I got to go for me, this is enough, and no other words need to be said, I think that person can really look at you and be like, damn, she's real. Like, this is real and she's got to go. And same thing with guys to girls. I mean, when a guy looks at you in the face and just says to you like, hey, this isn't working out, like this isn't healthy, when they're cool, calm, and collected is when you really need to worry about it, because that's when people are very serious. um so a lot of things happened in between. Obviously there were a lot of like moving parts. But the next step for me was, where was I going to go before I could actually get all of this like solidified and moved over? And I couldn't, there's no way that I could have done this within a week, like got all my things, moved to Nashville, got an apartment, moved into the apartment. Like things take time. You got to go set up paperwork and all the things like that. I also drive a Mustang, so there was no way that I was going to be able to put all of my stuff in that car. But I did what I packed what I could, and I took my first trip to Nashville. I had already knew that I was going to live there because my family is here. It was time to heal in this area too. My sister and I we haven't had a chance to live in the same area for a very long time. And my nephews are here, and my brother-in-law, and I just felt like God was calling me to this direction. And my sister, when I called her and told her what was going on, I mean, she dropped everything. She welcomed me with open arms. She was like, whatever I need to do to help you. I have furniture. I, can co-sign on a lease with you if you need. Um, I'm so super, super grateful for her. I mean, I was so lost when I called her. I was so lost. And she found me. And I'm very grateful for her for that. Like, it's a debt that I will always try to repay her for. Because, this was me with my trauma coming and infiltrating her life. I had to stay with her for a couple of weeks. And obviously, she knew that I was going to be emotionally damaged for a while. And she just invited me in with open arms. And I love her for that. Family is everything, by the way. My family and I have had our things. But at the end of the day, they're your blood. They're the only people who really understand you. And as hard as it is sometimes with family, they will pick you up when you are down. And with my family, it's vice versa. No matter what, I will always be there for them. Um, Anyways, in the next few days before leaving, I talked to all of my friends and let them know what was going on. And that was hard because actually a lot of friends that I met while I was living in Florida, these were kind of newer friends too. So I was worried that, maybe these friendships would dissolve just because I wasn't local to them, but that just wasn't the case. When I have people in my life, they're there for a reason. I'm very intentional about my friendships, and they were all so supportive, and I'm still friends with each and every one of them to this day. And I love them all in such significant and individual ways. And I believe that we'll be friends forever. So one of my really close friends let me stay at her house while I was getting things organized because I didn't think that it was healthy for me to still live in the same house while I was getting my things together. I was kind of like waiting for a couple of days. And I don't remember the exact timeline per se when the conversation happened. I do know it was like kind of like right after Christmas. And I was actually getting baptized on January 1st. So I needed some buffer time before I was going to take off to Nashville. Uh, so I'm really grateful for my friends that let me lean on them during this time. And when January 1st rolled around, that day changed my life. I mean, I dedicated my heart and soul to the only man that I feel like I've ever been able to truly trust. And that was God. I mean, God led me to this decision. Actually, let me backtrack on that really quickly. God challenges you so that you have the capacity to make these decisions for yourself. He's never going to hand anything to you on a silver platter. But I think in my heart, I knew that I had to go, and I was praying on it for sure. I was like, God, give me signs, give me this, give me that. God, let me get an apartment, like help me do X, Y, and Z. And he for sure was holding my hand and guiding me through all of that. But I think the biggest thing is like he presents you with challenges, obstacles, lessons, things that you need to work through, and even the positive stuff. More than anything, he provides those positive things so you realize and know like he's giving you grace. But in order for me to move forward, I had to accept that things were going to be hard, but he was going to have my back all the way. So January 1st rolled around, and yeah, like I said, that was a day that changed my life. I surrendered it over. I said, you know what? Nothing's on me anymore. You take the wheel, and I will do anything. Like I will walk right beside you. And if, I got to walk uphill and still hold your hand, if I got to walk through crazy terrain and still hold your hand, I'm going to do anything that I can because I know that you have my back and I just got to trust it. Um, I was baptized in the ocean and it was the most incredible thing that I've ever experienced. Like once I was dipped into that water, everything changed. I'm telling you right now, everything went white. Like sometimes when you close your eyes, you see blackness, like just it was just black. But when I dipped into the water, my eyes were closed. Obviously, I was in the salt water, so that probably would have burned. But I just felt like this light all over me. And I have photos on my Instagram if you haven't seen those. But it was the most incredible moment of my life. And when I came up from the water, I remember the pastor looking at me and being like, you're ready. Like, you're ready. And he didn't even know what was going on with me. You know, he just asked me, what can I pray for you today? I said, I'm moving, I'm making a big change in my life. He didn't know what was going on with me. And when I came up out of that water, he was like, you're ready. This is a new chapter for you. And it's going to be so beautiful. And I felt like that was God talking to me in that moment. Like everything is going to be okay. And there was no room for negativity that day. It was my day with the Lord. And that's what it was going to be about. So after that, I went and had lunch with my friends. And my ex texted me and was like, can we talk one more time before I leave? I felt strong enough to be able to do that. Um, so I allowed it to happen. We spent some time together. I gathered the rest of my things, packed it up in my car, and it was a good night. There was no arguing. There wasn't any conversation about what was happening. It was just a good time. And I appreciate that because if I would have had to go through any more turmoil on that particular day, I would have I would have just completely lost it. And I feel like that's how I know that I was being protected that day because it was just healthy time. Like it was just, you know what, you're walking away from this and I'm going to give you those like moments, those healthy moments that you remember with him. So I woke up the next day and was ready to head out. I jumped in my Mustang and drove 10 hours straight to Nashville. I had to leave a bunch of stuff there because I wasn't able to fit everything in that little coupe. So I knew I would have to return at some point, but this was the first step to me starting my life. And I wasn't sad. I drove away and I was just ready. I was ready. When I got there, I stayed at my sister's house. And they actually had went out of town that weekend. So it was just me and their nanny was watching my nephews. Obviously I was there to help, but um she knows them through and through. So she was there. And then she had a friend that came over too. It was a really weird time because I was like grieving while at the same time kind of uncomfortable being in a new place, knowing that I was going to have to start all over and also meeting this new person and spending time with her and her friend all weekend. And also, I mean, I came to Nashville a lot, but like being around my nephews and everything, I hadn't spent that much time with them, knowing that I was going to be like staying there. So it was like kind of a beautiful thing, knowing like I was going to get to see them every day and see them growing up. So there was a lot of emotions going on. And then it started snowing. And so we were snowed in. I couldn't even drive. And I'm telling you right now, do not try to drive in snow in a Mustang. It's just not going to work. Almost had a near death experience with that, but that's a whole nother story. So we were stuck in the house and it was so, it was so much fun. I mean, I didn't even think about what was happening with me. I didn't think about that. I had a car full of stuff, with all my crap, nowhere to put it. And even if I wanted to go to the gas station, it was hard because it was just me in the seat and I had to leave my cat back in Florida too. And it was just really, there was a lot going on. But it was just me, my nephews, and these two girls in the house. And we had so much fun. I mean, we were making snowmen, we were outside bonding, making hot cocoa. And little did I know, like, these two girls were going to be my best friends. Um, it was like God removed what wasn't serving me in my life anymore and then dished up these two amazing women right on a platter for me as soon as I stepped into my new path, which is so crazy to me. It's like things were removed to bring space for something new. And these two girls are still my best friends, by the way. I know it's only been 9 months, but they have been riders for me. And I cannot appreciate the two of them more. They will be on this podcast at some point. I will be talking to you about our stories at some point. But we had such a great weekend, and I didn't really think about, like I said, being sad that much. As time went on, I was actually getting more and more comfortable. And so, yeah, we had so much fun. And then the snow finally melted. So I felt like I was ready to hit the road and go get some stuff for my new apartment, which was so exciting. I was like at Ross and just like stacking up on utensils and like fun things. And I'm like, this is how I can picture my apartment looking. It's just my space for my stuff and my things. And I was so excited to be able to create something that was just for me. The hard part about all of this is knowing that I had to go back, but I had to go pick up my little angel and I had to get the rest of my things. So it was about 2 weeks later and I hopped on a flight and went back to Florida. He actually picked me up from the airport and drove me all the way back. And it was a little uncomfortable at first, but I think he realized that if he made it harder for me, um, then it would just make it an easier choice, I guess, for me to know that this was the right choice. I don't think he realized that like I was set in stone. There was always like some glimmer of hope in his eyes that maybe I would change my mind, but um that wasn't going to happen. I mean, it wasn't on my mind at all. I was only thinking about myself. And let me just take a moment to say it is okay to be selfish sometimes in a situation where you have to put yourself first for the betterment of your health, for your mental health, for the sake of your own sanity, for all of those things. If it's bettering you, it's okay to be selfish. And at this point, that's what I was doing. So I was there for about 2 days. I made some time to see everybody that I could and say goodbye, and mostly set aside time to pack. Um, I actually had to go get a rental car and I got a minivan so I could pack all my stuff in there. Strategically, too, I took everything that I could and put it in the car, and he gave me some space. So that was really nice of him. I appreciated that. I do remember the last night I was there, laying on the couch, just trying to get some rest before I was going to leave. And we were actually finishing up the Lost series because we had started that a while back. And I was just thinking about how grateful I was that he was allowing this peaceful time together. Because I didn't want to hate him. I mean, of course, I loved him for so long, but we just were not meant to be together. So instead of making it easier for me to find a way to walk away and be like, I'm tired of you. I despise this. I don't want to be in this anymore. Like, I want to forget about you and have nothing but mean things to say about you. It was actually like a peaceful separation. And I appreciated that. So I woke up at 5 a.m. the next day, hit the road, and it was really interesting because I was dragging away and I really wasn't sad. I wasn't crying. I was listening to music. I felt more proud than anything. I was just proud of myself. Like, you're finally putting yourself first, Katie. And like, it's not even just getting away from this person, it's just getting away from all the madness and the chaos and the lack of like just doing this for you. Like, this is your life now. This is your time to shine. If anything, I was crying about that. Um, I drove all the way to Nashville, unloaded my car all by myself, and there was nothing left to do but just start my life. The girls that I became friends with in the previous weeks, they were already ready to be there and support me. At any point, I could drive down to I'm sorry. Wow, what a stutter. At any point, I could drive down the street to my sister's house and see my nephews. I knew that this was what God wanted for me. I could feel it in my bones. I still do, like to this day. And maybe that's what that gut feeling is, and why I have such a hard time when people say, oh, it's just a gut feeling, because I know now that it's not just a gut feeling. I know now that when I say that this is my gut feeling, it's actually faith. Once I decided that I was going to surrender my life over and allow faith to guide me, that's what that light on my heart has been. It's just been faith, knowing that everything is going to be okay. Of course, there were nights where I was sad, but that's because I was trying to find a way to like calculate what my next steps were going to be. It's hard being in a new place, but this wasn't the first time I had to start over. I just knew that this was going to be the last time. Let me repeat that again. This wasn't the first time that I've had to start over, but I knew that this was going to be the last time. I gave myself some grace and allowed myself a few weeks until I started to jump back into like the social life. I hit the gym a lot. I stayed inside and watched movies, kept to myself, went to my sister's and hung out, had the girls over sometimes, would go to their house sometimes. A few weeks had gone by and I finally decided that I was ready to step out and be social. If anyone's been through a breakup, especially one that was full of toxicity and lack of trust, you might know that feeling that's like overwhelming when you're about to be out and be social again. Like, it's not to say that I wasn't allowed to be social before, but I just knew that, like, in my past life, we would go out and we would have fun. And it would start as fun and then things would change, like, pretty abruptly. And at the end, there were more rough nights than others, whether it be me and him fighting or him fighting somebody else or something happening. Um, it was really hard for me to like be like, okay, I'm gonna go out to a bar and not like have to look over my shoulder and be like, is somebody gonna get mad at me? Am I going to be in trouble for this? Trouble at the age of 29? Like, are you mad? What is trouble? No one can get you in trouble. You can do whatever the hell you want to do. I mean, make smart decisions for yourself, obviously, but never let anyone tell you what you can and cannot do. So I decided to go out, got all dressed up. One had met one of the girls that I was telling you guys about before. And I have to admit, though, that I was having some social anxiety that night. But I knew that every single person that I met was serving purpose in my life. I knew that I was building a community. Um, and the first night that I went out, which was very unintentional, I met a man, the ideal man to be exact. Um, I had no idea what this person was going to bring to the table. And I can confidently tell you that even 8 months down the road, he is still a top notch human being. But spoiler alert, we're not together. I'm not in a relationship with anyone. And I think this is the most important thing that I want to say. It doesn't, just because you meet a man doesn't mean that this person has to be your boyfriend. You can just be friends. Guys and girls can just be friends. Yes, there might be some different intentions behind it, some wants, some desires. Not every single encounter in your life has to turn into a romantic relationship. And it wasn't for a lack of trying, obviously. Like, we went out on a date and it was great. We had great conversation. There were a lot of commonalities there. But I'm in a new state in my life where I'm finally learning how to set boundaries. And I realized that this just wasn't the right person for me romantically. And that's okay. And I'm not going to get into too much depth about this because I will tell the story separately. He's a great guy and we still talk, we still communicate. And I appreciate him so much that he's still willing to be in my life, even though I told him, like, hey, you know what? This is not something that I am looking like I want to pursue right now. I'm focused on myself. I'm focused on building my life back up. I just don't have the emotional capacity to bring another romantic relationship into my life right now. And yeah, I mean, having fun is one thing, hanging out with somebody is one thing, and we'll go on walks and things like that. Great person. But I think it's important to say that, like, just because you meet somebody, you have great conversation, you hit it off, doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be in a romantic relationship, or at least right away. You can let things brew. You can have relationship with this person, friendship with this person beforehand, and you never know what could blossom out of it. But I'll tell you one thing: the number one thing I will not do again is jump into a relationship quickly. I don't care how many sparks are flying. I don't care how many fanny flutters there are. I do not care how romantic gestures are flowing or anything like that. I will not jump into a relationship quickly ever again. Because I'll tell you right now, the love bombing and the honeymoon phase is only a setup for disaster. You've got to get to know this person. And when people say that you want to be friends first, I agree with that statement. I really do. Because you got to get to know somebody first. Yes, like there's temptation and you may want to like jump right in right away, the physical nature of a relationship. Yeah, you've got to test things out, test the waters, all that stuff. But like a relationship is so important, and if you want to do that and you want to jump in, fine, by all means. But if I'm ever going to tell somebody I love them again, and if I'm ever going to put a ring on my finger again, you best believe that I've done the groundwork to make sure that this person is the right person for me. No, not everything works out. No, not everything is going to be perfect. But I am going to do my due diligence to make sure that I do not have to go back to ground zero again because I surrendered myself over to another person that didn't have the same intentions as me. Anyways, again on the tangent, my goodness. So yeah, I mean, I want to talk to you guys more about the experiences that I've had since I've gotten here, but let me circle back really quickly to the whole purpose of this story. Me leaving was an intentional decision for myself. It led me exactly to where I am now. It is now the end of August of 2025. It's been exactly 1 year at this point from when the initial thoughts of leaving started. And I don't have any regrets at all. The only thing I wish that I probably could have done differently is the way that I said goodbye, but some things are out of your control. Um, and there's a lot of things that I could be resentful for, but again, it's that faith, that light inside of me that I'm just going to be like, you know what? It is what it is. I got to move on. I got to move forward. Forward thinking only. Okay. That is like my motto of this year, forward thinking only. The next time we come back here, I'm going to talk to you guys about some of the experiences that I've had with men since moving, restarting, rebuilding my community, and all those things. I'm not dating anybody, and I don't plan on dating for a while. This is me time. This is Katie time. But I did have 2 encounters with 2 different men. And one I just kind of talked to you about right now, who's still existing in my life. And he's a he's an incredible human being. That's why I say he's an ideal man. He really is. He's going to have an incredible life and wife one day, and I know that. And the other one, that one was kind of like sparks and fire automatically. It was an incredible time, and then ended up being really confusing. And um, I think it really the lesson that it taught me was that it should never be that confusing. You cannot, you're not responsible for an overthinking man. You cannot make a man feel certain about anything. And you certainly can't pull a man out of his confusion. So, 2 very opposite experiences, both incredible men, and I have nothing bad to say about them. But again, another life lesson, and I'm not broken up or torn up about it at all. I am grateful for the experiences because it's teaching me what I want moving forward. But what I want right now is Katie. What I want right now is Katie. I want Katie to shine. I want Katie to feel confident. I want her to be successful. I want her to meet good people, continuing to grow and learn, love, live, laugh, all the things. And that's what I'm doing. And that's why I'm here. I want to share these stories with you. I want to hear yours too. And, as hard as these are to say out loud, especially the ones that have had trauma and tumultuous times attached to it, uh, the more I realize how strong I am and how capable I am and how worthy I am. And I just know that everything's gonna everything's gonna be okay. Um, I'll keep you updated on what's next and who I'm gonna be talking about next. I don't know. I just might have another guest on here in the interim. But we have all the time in the world, and I cannot wait to talk with you guys more. I will close with saying this. There's a reason and a season for everything. And some seasons bleed into the others, some completely end and they move on. You move on, all the things, but there is a reason for it. So if there's anything that you can do, is take a little bit of time, reflect on your current season. Is this filling your cup? What are you learning from it? What do you like? What do you dislike? All of the things. And also remember, it is okay to be selfish because at the end of the day, it's you. You are the one that matters. You can't be in a relationship if you're not solid within yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of others. And especially if you want to build a nice, firm, healthy foundation for the rest of your life, it starts with you. Thank you guys for listening. I appreciate and love every single one of you. Thank you guys for supporting. If you're not already following, we're available on all streaming platforms, and you can follow us on social media at storyofmylife_podcast. I will see you guys next time.